He's a hip-hop artist, a producer, and oh, by the way, he's an entrepreneur. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with Matt Monday, one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on iHeartRadio. Matt Monday.
Yes, sir.
It's so good to meet you.
Likewise.
I appreciate it greatly. I understand that you are a talented hip-hop artist here in town and really around the world. You're a producer and entrepreneur, and obviously you founded the indie music label Southern Wealth in Music Swim Group in 2013. And obviously you have released two highly acclaimed albums, Filthy and Filthy 2. What is it like to be you these days?
It's pretty smooth. I mean, it's pretty, I wake up, grab a coffee, go ride my bike. I'm pretty normal. I'm not like some, superstar, celebrity type person. It's not that at all. I'm just a creative, and I just try to wake up every day and figure out a way that I can create. That's pretty much it, man.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I do. Try to figure out ways to create. Whether it be music, film, whatever, just try to create.
Yeah. And I gotta talk to you about your good friend, Ben Starr.
Yeah.
This is the City Paper article, cover story from last week. And it says this, live screen. Benjamin Starr pits activism at the forefront of his live recording of the Water album. Obviously that took place Saturday night at Music Hall. When you think of Benjamin Starr and activism, where does your mind go to?
I mean, that's him. I mean, that's who he's been prior to maybe the public's acknowledgement of it. But that's who he's been since I met him. And I met him when I was like 17, 18. So we've known each other for a long time now. A little over 10 years. So, he's really about what he's talking about in his art, in his music. He doesn't deviate from it, and it's not like I'm gonna say one thing. Like, you have a lot of social media activists, like Twitter activists and Facebook activists. He's not one of those. He's one of those people who actually is out in the community, and he's consistent with his narrative. So from each project, he's very spot on with how he feels. He's very honest about it, and he's genuine. And so, I mean, I think that is the best way to go about when you say activism. It's is this genuine? Because there's a lot of disingenuous activism out here. So to say somebody who's coming up and relates and understands the plight of the people around him and is willing to voice that, and put his reputation and put himself out there, that's something to admire and something to be inspired by as well. So,
and a lot of people are inspired by you. Your story is just phenomenal. Growing up in really North Charleston, I believe, off of Dorchester Road. What got you from off of Dorchester Road to now as Matt Monday?
Opportunity, man. Opportunity and preparation for the opportunity. I grew up in Forest Hills, in Ackaby, which is in North Charleston. And really my mother also, who always pushed me to put me in programs to help me excel, past what I was surrounded by. But also things I would see outside of school, so things I would see in the street setting, which I knew that I didn't want for myself, or I knew that I didn't want for my family or people or my friends. So it really was just being between the opportunity, being prepared for the opportunities, and the people that put me in place to get those opportunities. So going to art school completely shifted the way I was exposed to just art in general. Just to give me a wider spectrum of places to pull from, give me a different perspective on the world, traveling, getting my passport super early so I can go places and study other cultures or understand how other, it's not just, sometimes we can get caught into our singular world, and it's just this, and then you go somewhere else and you're God, this is so much bigger. So,
Man, you talk about obviously arts. You went to the School of Arts, I believe, Charleston County. Who was Matt Monday as a student?
I was actually a decent student. I wasn't that well behaved then, but the school. The school allowed you to be completely expressive. So not just myself, but the students there, we had a lot of leniency as far as how we were acting in school. But they didn't encourage that, but they just gave us a lot of room to express ourselves. So you got to think I'm coming from an environment where it's like the public school setting, where you're not allowed to necessarily express yourself like that unless you're getting like a referral or you're getting like sent home, you know.
Right.
And then you come here and it's like, all right, you know, don't act out, but fully like, you know, translate how you feel to everyone around you. And that's what our school is. It's like it's pretty much a breeding ground for kids to learn how to translate and express what they're feeling or what they're thinking in very unorthodox ways. Whether it be visual, theater, music, it's just, you know, a way for you to get out what you feel.
You talk about breeding ground that is. Obviously, Charleston is a breeding ground for music and arts.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get here in your mind? With Charleston being the mecca for really music and arts.
Mm-hmm. How do we get, what do you mean, how do we get?
This is the place to be for people emerging as musical artists,
Okay,
visual
I got you.
artists. How did that happen?
I think it's always been there. That's some, I spoke to Charlton Singleton,
Yeah.
and he was telling me how Charleston, like South Carolina as a whole, is just like really the unspoken mecca of jazz. This is somebody I didn't know, so after he told me, I went back and looked, and he's right. And I was like, man, but all the acclaim goes to like New Orleans. I think they're just a more popular city for jazz. I think a lot of the things that we're seeing here have always been here. We just haven't had the exposure to the rest of the world to be like, hey, this is here. And I think now it's becoming a thing because now the city itself is being exposed as like #1 tourist city, #1 this, #1 that. People come here and they're like, oh, guys, there's some, you know, there's a lot going on. There's some nice art down there. There's a lot of, you know, good work going on there. So I think now the exposure is becoming more and more. And I think it'll continue to increase. And I think that it's been like an incubator of like just talent breeding. If that's like, I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to express it in the proper way. That's kind of how I want to say. It's like an incubator. Like we've already been like curating ourselves to be this good. It's like getting prepared for a fight. Like you've been training for like years and years and years. It's like now when the fight comes, you're flawless in the fight. And I think that's what happens with the art here. You have these artists who've been training and been creatively competitive to where now it's, once you hit the forefront, you know, we've already jumped those hurdles of trying to figure ourselves out. So I think we know. And I think mix that with the opportunity of just having the exposure, and then that's how you have it. That's how you have all these, you know, great shows. How you have the Benny Stars and, you know, the Charlton Singletons and the Keanas. Yeah, and myself. Yeah, definitely.
And you talk about Charlton Singleton. Obviously, you, along with him, and obviously Lonnie Hamilton, were on the Charleston City paper recently, and so is why as I was as well. But the headline was taking notes. What notes did you take away from Charlton Singleton and Lonnie Hamilton when it came to music?
So man, so that originally was going to be a cover story like this for me, but I wanted to kind of shed light, and well, I actually wanted to curate my own piece in the story. Like you have Heath, who wrote the piece on myself, Lonnie, and Charlton, and you had like my accompanying piece. And I kind of wanted to use that platform because I've been on the cover of the paper, so it's not like it's not something you should redo without something different, I feel like. So I was like, all right, that is my cover, but I want to have Charlton and Lonnie on it because it's kind of showing the generations of the musical evolution of the black artists in Charleston. Starting with Lonnie, who's been here since like the 30s, 40s, and worked his way up through like civil rights, through segregation, through, I mean, the school he started teaching in was a segregated school, Barnes Wilson. My grandmother went to the school. And the coolest, the taking notes part came from, we all have a connection. If you read the piece, like we're all connected in this crazy way that we didn't even realize. And sitting with them, with Lonnie, first of all, it made me not take my situation for granted, and that made me not take my opportunity for granted, and just the things that I'm able to do now that he would never have thought of doing back in the 40s and 50s. You know, like no African American male in the 40s and 50s couldn't start an independent label and independently put out their project. He couldn't even go into certain clubs down here without a white escort or someone telling him that he could go in. Then moving up to Charlton, who Lonnie is Charlton's mentor as well. Who a lot of the same things, a lot of the same hurdles and obstacles that he had to go through. And then Charlton ended up teaching at the School of the Arts. That's how I actually met Charlton, was that he was the music teacher at School of the Arts. And just a lot of things that he's accomplished, being, I believe he's the first black composer for the Gilliard at the Symphony Orchestra.
Right.
And they wouldn't even let a black person in that building, 40 years ago. And I don't think people understand how short 40 years is on the spectrum of time. Like that's incredible. So for them to jump those hurdles and get through those obstacles and reach those feats sets me up, this young black male, to express how I want to express myself in any genre. Because I'm not a jazz musician, I'm a hip hop musician. Right. So like coming out the gate, when I come to the venue, it's like it's already a little reluctancy, but I feel like I can get it done because of the things that they've done prior to me. That the kind of prestige that they've established, the class personified men they are, they've established, have let me come in just to kind of uphold that and carry that torch.
And I also read this too, but you basically said, hey, listen, I'm a representation or extension of that, but by just being a black musician or artist in this city, what does that representation look like now?
The black artist now, I mean, it looks like me. It looks like Ben. I mean, I think that sometimes when they see us, especially being, and I'm just speaking in hip hop,
okay,
when they see us, there's a certain stigma that's already attached. But if you were to sit and talk with Ben, I talk with myself, I talk with some other artists, you'll see that, oh, these are thinking men. These are men who have ideas and who have their own struggles and who have their own situations that they've fought through, who are now looking for the solution in the most positive and productive way possible. So now we're honest, because a lot of, and when I say honest, I mean that the things that we're seeing are things that Lonnie couldn't say without there being a threat on him, period, as his life or his family. Charlton couldn't necessarily say without losing out the opportunity to perform or showcase in certain places. Him and I can say whatever we want to say, and a lot of things I do say is because they can't say it. So I think that's the black artist now. It's like unapologetic. Honest and unapologetic about what's going on around us and the things that we know are to come, and that just straightforward. I mean, that's from my perspective, that's like the black artist now, especially in Charleston, the young artists. But then there's also, again, like with Lonnie and Charlton, my respect for them goes so deep because they're so class personified. Even in the wake of like a lot of I can imagine the disrespect that both of them may have received in their tenure of being black artists, and just remain like these just great men, these men of class. That's very admirable, because that's hard for me. It's very hard for me to accept and see certain things and just keep my mind and just try to remain within a realm of class. And I'm a human being. I can't act like I don't feel a way, but for them to receive that, accept it, and maybe feel something, but still go out and give phenomenal performances. I think they have to go perform in the midst of all. I think people often forget that. You got to go perform, and you have to be good. Yeah. On top of that, you have to go perform, and you have to be exceptional at your performance while dealing with X, Y, and Z from the bigots or whatever that may be. So yeah, I think to be the black artist is just that, to excel under the pressure of whatever we're dealing with that's opposing us from excelling.
How do you balance that?
Focus. You gotta have a strong will to focus, and you gotta have a strong support around you. And I think with myself personally, I can't speak for Ben or anyone else, but for myself, I think I look at the people who couldn't who couldn't do what I'm doing, but would have loved to do it. So my grandmother was a cafeteria lady. Wow. For 30 years at Maryford Elementary. Right. She ran the community center in the same time, and I don't know what her dreams were, You know, I don't know what she may have wanted to be outside of that. I'm sure she didn't wake up and say, this is what I want to be.
Right.
But because of circumstance, she had to provide. She had a family. You know, she's a survivor. She's a provider. She feeds people. She makes people. She takes care of others before she takes care of herself. So when you a person when you have that personality, you kind of put your personal dreams and your wants on hold. So those are the things that get me through. Like, I think about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and not just my parents. There's people who've given up so much for me, who sacrificed for me to be here. There's people who've given up a lot of stuff for me to be in this position, and I can't take that for granted.
Man, that's a lot there.
Yeah.
A couple of things. What are you listening to right now? What's on your playlist, Matt Monday?
Right now, I'm listening to, what was I playing on the way here? It's funny, I'm listening to some Hans Zimmer. I'm listening to a lot of movie scores. I'm thinking about, I'm not thinking, I was shooting a short, and I want to score it myself. So I've been like studying like motion picture movie scores. So like Tyler Bates, Hans Zimmer, Lady Smith, Black and Bazo. Who else was I listening to? I was playing The Carter 2 by Lil Wayne.
Oh yeah.
What else was I playing? I was playing something. Oh, Anthony. There's an artist named Anthony from here. He's a young kid.
Wow.
I was playing his Nice Part 2. I like his EP. It's a really good EP.
Yeah.
So just that. That's kind of like it right now. But mostly motion picture stuff because we're trying to figure out I'm trying to like learn how to score like by myself. So
It's gonna happen.
yeah.
And when I go back to your albums, what is that one album that describes you?
That describes me. I would say the Filthy series. Like anything from Filthy, like these last two albums are really showing like me moving out of like being like a young guy into like a man. And then the next album is even going to push even further with like personal topics. So right now, if anything, I say Filthy 2 is spot on. But for the public. But for me personally, then the next one will be like you know, like more spot on to where I am like currently like right now. Cause music moves so fast, so like every 3 months like it changes. Whereas before, like artists were putting out albums like a year apart. Now if you make something in January, by March, April, you're like, all right, that's dated. We got to figure something else because you feel differently because we're receiving information so much faster.
Right.
So like, you know, we're consistently every day being influenced by the things that we're reading and seeing, and our thoughts are changing and our ideas are changing. So it's almost impossible for a person, unless you live under a rock, to not be evolving on a 3 month basis. You know, if you're connected to like the world, it's difficult. You know, just by reading this paper, you change. Just by reading like your cover story, you change. You know, there's things that you're just gonna move forward consistently, and you're receiving. You gotta think people have like 10 apps on their phone that send you information all day. They sit on their phone all day and just read.
Yeah.
So yeah, the music where I was at 52 isn't even where I am now. You know, but I would say that's the best description of where it's headed. The Filthy series.
And how do you move forward, Matt Monday next?
Finding new ways to like create and showcase like the art, like better presentations rather than like before I would do like these listening sessions and that was cool. The last one I did, it was cool, but I know I won't do it again. Like if I do it again, we got to find a new way to do this. So like I might do an installation where, you know, you guys come to the environment and hear the music, or like Ben did the live recording and like did vinyl on. You know, when he did that, we talked about. He told me he was gonna do vinyl on. I said, oh, that's. I wish I could do vinyl on. Like, you know. So I did box sets. So just finding just new ways to just present the art to everyone and make it fun. You know, because I'm not in this to be like some famed celebrity. I'm literally doing this for like my own. Sometimes it's my own personal therapy of like getting out just the way, like how I feel. And I think that's the most positive reinforcement of just being a creative is, especially being a black creative, is you're already dealing with so much. And some people don't have a way to, I guess just how to express like how they feel about anything.
Right.
And so for me, I use it as an opportunity to get out exactly how I feel. And then some people who may listen to it relate, and now they're getting out how they feel vicariously, either through me or Ben or Quintin. I mean, Charlton, or Lonnie, or whoever. I mean, that's just what it is, man. So yeah.
If you were to tell your 10, 12-year-old self about you now, what would you say?
I would say, don't have a plan B. Don't have a plan B. I think having plan Bs, I didn't grasp that concept until a little later. I think after I lived in New York, and I was in there, and I had a conversation with one of my mentors, and he was saying how like the plan B deviates so much from the plan A that you can't focus on two things. You can't like straddle the fence.
Right.
And I think I told myself that, just like commit your whole life to just this. And I pretty much have, but there's been times where it was like, all right, my mother, she's like, I want you to go to college, so I'm gonna go to college, but you gotta do, the decisions you make in your life have to be done for you specifically, not for anyone else, no matter what society may tell you the structure of your life should be, school, job, marriage, kids, work, retire, die. I mean, that's literally like the societal structure of how life is supposed to be set out for a good life. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
Also, there's nothing wrong with that, because that is like anyone who finds honest, admirable work. There's like that's to be saluted in itself. But I think whatever you do, you should be find the utmost happiness. I think a lot of people, and like even friends I have now, like we're coming, like because we're later 20s, so it's like people are getting into these roles and are getting into these sections of their life where they're just unhappy. And I think right now, when you have so many things that are that are telling you not to be happy, I think the gold that's more precious than money, more precious than any material thing is just your happiness and like your peace of mind and your sanity. I think a lot of people can't hold on to that because they try to find it in the wrong place. So I would tell myself that, no plan B, stick to your plan A, commit your life to it, and it'll happen the way it's supposed to happen.
That's so great to hear. Well, Matt Monday, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate this.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.